So we can start.
Here's a very hearty good evening from the Southern India Regional Council, SIRC of ICAI. We've been giving workshops or probably like the seminars, and learning is definitely a continuous process, and it becomes inevitable part of our profession. And today's topic is really going to be very, very interesting. And given the scenario of the statutory audits and the compliances going on one side, so we are moving towards ease of doing business, lesser compliance, voluntary compliance. Government is actually trying to bring in the culture of voluntary compliance so that there is no check mechanism, or without any policing, people are becoming voluntary compliant. So that is more so for the MSME segment. And probably like if we really think through the reasons as to why people are not compliant, why there is need for policing, why there is need for investigation, etc., is basically the fund, the working capital management. So where there is a dearth of fund, they tend to postpone, they tend to conceal, they tend to change, and all this is happening. And as chartered accountants, probably like this happened with me. One of my clients once asked, when I pay money to a doctor or a engineer or someone, then I feel like I'm getting some value add. When I pay money to a chartered accountant, I feel I have to do it for the government, which actually is true, because they are paying us for the compliance which they have to do for the government. But as professionals, as partners in nation building, I think we shouldn't stop ourselves there. We should give them value add so that their business grows, and that's where we actually hit the point of being partners in nation building, where we help the businesses grow, we help the employment generation, and we help the nation as such to grow. And today we have a very, very special person to talk on the subject, the project finance for MSMEs. So CA Anand Saklecha, a very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Subhash.
So here's a very, very brief introduction about this great personality. CA Anand Saklecha, BCom FCA Grad CWA, is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and a CMA. He started his career in the field of financial consultancy and advisory in the year 2000. After initially handling domestic transactions and delivering successfully to good number of clients, he expanded his wings to deal with cross-border transactions. He took up and successfully concluded cross-border transactions of acquisitions and mergers in different spokes of industry. Though handling variety, yet his expertise has been in food processing, deep tech, pharmaceuticals, education, hospitality, and FMCG. I'm not able to think of any other prominent ones. I think you're there everywhere. He has successfully handled stake sale of industries. He has been mentoring various startups. Startup, I think, is the buzzword for the developing India. And mentoring, the financial mentoring, probably is one of the most important thing, and we as chartered accountants should definitely focus on that. Various startups, right from the concept building to implementation, and even during operations, startups to look at his competence and expertise and get benefited at each such stage. Great. A little different than his professional background. Mr. Saklecha contributes a bit for social causes as well. That's really great. He's one of the founding members of Nanhe Farishte, probably the angel, right? If I'm just telling the meaning right. An NGO working towards cancer sufferers and cancer awareness programs. Probably like today, it's very, very unfortunate whether to blame the food or the health or the lifestyle. But this has become like a very, very common problem for all of us. And I think Anandji is concentrating on both the problem areas in terms of the MSMEs, giving them advices on the project finance, and on the other side on the health, which is much more important. So here's a very, very warm welcome to all of you audience, and a very, very special welcome to our speaker. Anandji, over to you, sir. And one instruction from the team, we request you all to post your questions in the chat box. I'm sure you will have a lot of questions, because there are a lot of schemes under MSMEs and the project finance, and definitely we are having an expert speaker here, and we should definitely gather as much as knowledge and make the best use of this expert faculty. So you can just post your questions in the chat box and it will be handled at the end of the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Subhashini ji, for kind words, and it's been a pleasure, to speak before an August audience from Southern India, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak before them. So I've been asked to talk about project finance, particularly for MSMEs. So can I start my slideshow directly, or?
So you can.
Okay. Is my slide now?
Yes, it is visible.
So hello everyone, I'm Anand Saklecha, chartered accountant in a company and a CMA. We've been working on raising debt and equity for a lot of MSMEs and startups for last almost 2 decades. So today I've been given about 1.5 hours to speak about 1.5 to 2 hours to speak on how do we raise finance for MSMEs and what are the opportunities available to a chartered accountant. And Subhashini ji had said, even I had been telling it in all the forums that we should not be looked just as a source of compliance, but what we do is we also bring growth to the company. So that is something which is very critical and for which chartered accountant should be known for. So I start my presentation with the few general slides, and then I'll come on to how to prepare the business plan, which are the schemes available, what are the opportunities for chartered accountants, how exactly to structure a particular transaction, mainly on debt side first, and then I'll give you a brief on how do we raise equity for startups and also to some growth stage companies. How we can handhold them, there, and how we can mentor them there is also something which I would try to incorporate in my presentation. So like chartered accountants, as we know, we are not just the source of compliance. We are someone who handhold the corporates, our clients to grow, and that's where the actual job of chartered accountant gets into picture. Not just as a source of compliance, we are not just a source of compliance signing the balance sheets and something, but also what we can do is we can prepare the business plan, we can prepare the growth trajectory, and many more things which I'll try to capture in my presentation. So at present we are about 3 lakh chartered accountants in India. More than about 1.3 lakh chartered accountants are practicing. Traditionally, we have been doing a lot of compliances, maybe on taxation side, auditing side, accounting side, and many other compliances side. But what I think and what I have been doing, I've never been part of this traditional practice since my day of becoming chartered accountant. Since the beginning, I had been working mainly on advisory part. So what I feel is we should not just be looked as the source for traditional practice, and we should handhold our client, make them grow. With their growth, we can grow. So the fourth important thing is we make fundraising easy. So what is fundraising? Fundraising is basically raising capital or debt for starting or expanding a business. So if we see the current year's number, we have raised in last fiscal, we have done about in India INC had raised about 16.6 lakh crores by various means. So if we just see the opportunity for a chartered accountant, even whatever fee you charge, but that even if you distribute it between all the chartered accountant, that's something which is huge. So since I've been asked to speak more on MSME, what is a MSME, what is a micro industry, what is a small industry, what is a medium industry? So as per the latest definition, the micro industry is one wherein the investment in plant and machinery is less than 1 crore and the top line is less than 5 crores. For small, the plant and machinery investment has been less than 10 crores and annual turnover is less than 50 crores. For medium, plant and machinery investment up to 50 crores and annual turnover is less than rupees 250 crores. So that's how the definition of MSME has been revised. There are a lot of programs run by state and central governments for updating and taking the MSMEs to the mainstream. Few of them are these, but I would try to capture those which actually is required. These are very general ones, so anyone can do this. These are very smaller schemes usually, but these have been highlighted by MSME department that these are the schemes which MSME does. So finance. Now capital can be raised from various means. We can raise it through raise it as a debt, we can raise it as a capital, we can raise it on a structured transaction as well. So when we say project finance, so project finance is basically raising debt. So when I say raising debt, debt can be raised through various bodies like banks, financial institutions, or non-banking financial corporations, and various other fintech companies are also there, wherein you can structure some of the debts for your client. Also, simultaneously, what is important here is to understand from where you can raise capital for your client. It can be raised from various sources, like angel investors can be there, private equity funds can be there, venture capitalists are there. And then in VCs also, or in Ps also, you have an option to take it as in a structured format. You can take it as an optionally convertible debenture, you can take it as a fixed coupon thing, or you can take it as a venture debt. And then that can be converted into a equity at a later date on some significant milestones. So that is there broadly when I say finance, when I say raising money. So these are the ways for raising money. So raising money for what? For a greenfield project, for a brownfield project, for forward integration, or for backward integration. Now, why this is important is because to understand, when I'm raising capital for a greenfield project, that means wherein I'm starting from scratch. So I have to be very, very clear on how to create my cap table. What is the kind of organization? What is the structure of the organization for which I'm raising the capital? And also here it becomes very prominent to define the cap table of the company. If it's a company or if it's some other structure, then definitely that can be looked upon. But here very important is when I'm talking about a greenfield project, so the most important thing which gets to my mind is one, what product I'm talking about, what project I'm talking about, what is the location of that particular project. Am I doing it as an OEM, or this would be something which I'm going to take it to the market? As a chartered accountant, what is my roles and responsibilities to work upon that particular project while I'm writing the business plan for that particular project? So let me take an example here. And for example, if I'm working for a defense equipment manufacturing company, which probably manufactures maybe some products which are used for missiles. We work for a company in South only, in fact, so which manufactures BrahMos and Pinaka. So when we started working for that particular project, when it was a greenfield project, there were a lot of things which had to be looked upon. What all statutory requirements are there? How to define the cost of project, like which all equipments are to be taken, what would be the capacities of those equipments, from where those equipments are to be procured, what would be the mode of procurement of those particular equipments, whether they are available on a deferred payment method, or I have to make upfront payments to them. Then also I have to look into whether I have an option to use some of my non-fund based facilities, so that I can structure my facilities when I'm talking about project finance, whether how much fund based and how much non-fund based facilities do I require. So when I talk about a greenfield project, I'll run you through every opportunities, every possible. I'll simulate you through like every possible uh, you know details wherein which probably would be very useful while you write a business plan for a greenfield project. For a brownfield project, when I'm saying I'm into manufacturing of maybe a food processing, I'm a food processing industry, and I'm doing maybe I'm into snacking food industry, and I have 2000 kg per hour chip line and 1000 kg per hour snack food line and a frying line. And now what I'm doing is I have multiple revenue streams. I'm working on one part, I'm working for as an OEM or as a job worker, I'm working for maybe Frito-Lays or Haldirams or maybe some of other brands like ITCs or Parleys. And on the other side, what I'm doing is I'm utilizing 30 or 35% of my capacity for promoting my own brand, wherein probably I'm exporting or I'm catering to tier 2 or tier 3 cities. So what I'm doing and where exactly I'm standing today. आप बाद में आएंगे please. Thank you. ये बाद में आप सब आएंगे, अभी कुछ भी मत आने. Sorry for this. So what I'm catering to and how to define a brownfield project. And so not what I'm trying to explain here is not just preparing a business plan to raise debt from the bank, but also simultaneously, educating your client for the project what he is taking up, whether it is actually what kind of techno-economic viable is it. You have to conduct a TEV study for it and determine whether this is a technically feasible and economically viable project. And so as to do that, you have to deep dive into it and also simulate various alternates which are available. So I'll probably run you through that while we get into detail on how to write a business plan. Then vertical and horizontal expansion, I think everyone knows about it. How do I get into a vertical or a horizontal expansion, which we can always discuss. So what is the role of a chartered accountant? When I say role of a chartered accountant, what does that mean? So we are someone who understands the numbers better than probably 99% of the population on earth. So we understand numbers better than anyone else, any other professional, I would say. We can understand the balance sheets, we can churn the numbers. We have been trained to prepare the financial models. While we pursue our chartered accountancy, we can run simulation models, we can work out sensitivities at various levels on given different parameters. So we understand the macro and micro part of this particular business scenario. So we are someone which are updated to understand the business, to understand the balance sheets, to understand the numbers, to write the business plan. Also, we have been what we can do is we can simultaneously sit with the technical consultants and we can discuss with them about the different parameters on which a particular machine can run, how a costing on that particular machine would be arrived, which are the hindrances or which are the bottlenecks where probably you can your revenues or your profitability can get impacted. So these are some things what chartered accountant can definitely, he understands it much better than any other people, any other professional. So I have some numbers which I would like to share with you. One is the in this fiscal, we have crossed the total market capitalization of 3,000 billion in this fiscal. After COVID, when everyone was thinking that where exactly the business will go. So despite everything what had happened in last 18 months, the market capitalization of India INC had crossed $3,000 billion, which is huge. So I was reading an article, or I was reading an article about what Warren Buffett had said about this pandemic, and when someone asked him that what will happen now, so Warren Buffett said just three words, which can explain you everything that what is going to happen, and he told, no one knows anything. So you live in the present, you see whether there is a demand today, how you are forecasting it for tomorrow, prepare yourself for tomorrow and start manufacturing. And now with this China episode happening, and now with India becoming one of the prime hubs for manufacturing, not just for pharma, not just for IT, but for various other things. We had been pioneers for pharma and IT for decades, but now if you talk about engineering, if you talk about FMCG, if you talk about toy manufacturing, if you talk about furniture, if you talk about white sector goods, even if you're talking about it means hardware side. So a lot of investment is getting into it, and I'll run you through how PLI are few of the PLIs have already come, and which other PLIs, production linked incentives, government is thinking about. So how we can guide our clients and how we can prepare a questionnaire. I'll run you through those some of the questionnaires which we have prepared for our clients, and if need be, what we can do is we can ask the branch or the South Indian SIRC, we can share it with them, that can be shared between you all. So as I said, like the market cap is beyond $3,000 billion now, and few of the largest equity raise are planned for this fiscal, including LIC, including Paytm, including Swiggy and many others, MobiKwik and many others, which are already in pipeline. And we are seeing a very good trend now, wherein startups which had raised equity in last 5 years, they have gone public and they have been able to raise huge money. So Swiggy is an example, and Zomato is an example, and now Swiggy and Paytm are following it, and many others in the queue. So when I say startups this year, means January to August, if I see, I have seen more than 24 companies becoming unicorn in this, only in just this year. So 24 companies turning unicorn in a year, that matters a lot. And few of the companies which probably I would like to quote are mainly into fintech, then healthcare. If you see fintech, I was talking to my interns and my colleagues while we were watching the World Cup, this IPL last one, and we're just analyzing what all advertisements are coming in between. So to our surprise, there was not much of Patanjali, not much of Hindustan Unilever or Maruti Suzuki, but we are seeing most of the ads on Glow or Cred or these kind of fintech companies or startups which have raised capital in these last 5 years. So that actually, that reflects what kind of screen they are sharing now. Even the most expensive platforms, they are now taking the screen time. So few of the very good startups, I'll come on to it in the last half an hour of my this seminar. I'll brief you about why and how we can mentor those startups and what exactly we can do, how exactly we can handhold them. So few of the startups, as I was saying, was Cred or Glow or Urban Company or Charby or Zeta or maybe there's one unicorn which turned unicorn this week only, and that unicorn had been that company had been following for almost like 6-8 months or rather more. The name of that company is Zetwork. That again comes from South Bangalore-based company, and they're doing something which probably I'll take it on one of my slides when I'll discuss how we can do structuring. So there are some of the startups which are working on fintech. With them we can tie up, with them we can handhold, or with them we can sync ourselves, and we can probably plan some very smart financial solutions for our clients. So when I say preparing the business plan, what are the prerequisites for preparation of a business plan? As I was talking about, now let us take everything at a time, like maybe it may be a greenfield or a brownfield or a backward or a forward integration project. What are the prerequisites for preparation of the business plan? So first and foremost is whether the site has been finalized, which geography, how much land has been taken, what all kind of markets are available nearby, whether it is close to whether the proximity to the raw material is there or proximity to the market is there. So that those all things has to be looked upon, whether this falls under a particular category where you have a lot of financial incentives available. So and while we do that, that's something which is very important. I'll share one slide with you. What we do is when we work on a project, for example, we were working on a project which is for aluminum extrusion. So our client asked us like where should we set up this project, because we are open and we want maximum benefits, as in which can impact our bottom line. So why don't you suggest us, why don't you simulate it for us, that where should we set up this project? So we have identified few states and few geographies where probably this particular industry can work well because of proximity to the raw material or proximity to the market. But also simultaneously what we've done is we've churned all the numbers which are important from incentive point of view from state to state, because industrial policy of each state is different, and how you can prepare a note on industrial policy of your state and how you can compare it with other geographies is something which probably which can help you raise some of your bills to the client, because just by identifying the location, if you can explain it to them that this is the money which you're going to save if you set up your plant at this particular location and this much I'm charging you for this, they would probably be very happy to write a check to you in that particular scenario. So for the sake of understanding, let us take any industry and then we take all these points, so that probably I'll be able to explain you in a far more detailed manner rather than just taking you through these slides. So for example, if you're talking about, as I started from probably aluminum extrusion industry, so let us take aluminum extrusion industry. So while we were finalizing the project size, we had 3 locations with us. One, we were planning to set it up in Madhya Pradesh, where I belong to. Second, we were targeting Orissa because that has a proximity to raw material. And third was Jharkhand. So these were the three states which we were analyzing for setting up this particular project. So few important things: what is the price of the land there, how much land is available, how much land is required, what is the proximity to a major industrial town, and whether that is safe, how safe is it to work in those particular geographies. So everything after that, what we've done is, once we've done with those basic qualitative parameters, we have come on to the quantitative numbers. How far is the, what is the proximity to raw material, what is the proximity to market, what kind of financial incentives are available. So we have prepared a complete spreadsheet on it, and we had shared it with our clients, and based upon it we had shared one particular geography to set it up. So while we write the promoter's background and what are their credentials and credit scores, or probably which what makes them credit worthy is very important while you write, because ultimately when you're going to pitch a particular proposal, pitch a particular business before any of the lenders, the first thing they'll ask is, who are the promoters, who are the people behind it. So in this particular case, when what we're discussing, that was a CEO, ex-CEO of one of the largest LX2 companies in India, and he was backing it. So that was something which was very, very good background, which probably can help us to reduce on costs and other things, because he was a technical guy, and in place of 4x4 or 4x6, he was working on some different promoter background is something very important. And then we'll have to write in detail about who are the KMPs, who are the key managerial personnel in this particular business which you are writing. So then is collecting of historical data, how much on a macro level and on a micro level. So collecting the historical data, like I'm saying, for aluminium industry, while I was deep diving into aluminium industry, I was stunned to note that since 1900s, when aluminium manufacturing had started, I was stunned to know a fact that almost 80% of the aluminium manufactured since 1900 is still in use. So I got to understand that this is the metal which is most recyclable metal. So when you collect historical data, you update yourself, and then probably you're very much comfortable while you write a business plan, while you speak, while you pitch it before the lenders. So collecting historical data, how much is the total production, how much is the import of this particular product, from where we are importing, what are the import duties from that particular geography, are we an import substitute for this particular product. So everything regarding historical data need to be punched. Not necessarily it will form part of the business plan, but you have to be updated about it, because when you pitch your business and when you know in detail about it, probably you will be able to sell your business plan in a better way. So that is something which relates to historical data. Then we'll come on to the economical viability. We'll get into the details about economic viability and technical feasibility in some of the later slides, where we will detail about how we analyze that the project is economically viable or not, or how a project is technically feasible or not. Then few of the two very important catchwords which probably all the banks around India will talk about is, what is the security coverage? How much security are you offering? And particularly in case of MSME, this comes first. Who are the promoters? What is the security coverage? Right? What is the product? So this probably comes very much early to the mind of the banker, that or lender, that how much collaterally secured or primarily secured or I am while I'm lending this particular project, and how much skin of the promoter is into this particular game. Then last is like, what is the credit rating of the business? So if it's an existing company or if it's a new company, greenfield project, whether you've got it credit rated. We'll have one slide probably on credit rating, where I'll probably explain you how to get how to optimize the credit rating, which are the major financial parameters which we should probably take care of, or how probably we should approach to the credit rating agency and how probably we should pitch before the credit rating agency if we really want to optimize the rating of our client. And this again, optimization of credit rating, this is a professional assignment which can be taken by us as a chartered accountant, as a financial advisors to our clients, that what we can do is we can probably optimize the credit rating for your company, or else we can help you write your books or plan your expenses, or how exactly you can so as to optimize the rating of the business. So once you index this all into a frame, that this is something, these are the most important, these are the broader numbers, right? We'll get into the detail in few of the next slides. So the most important thing is, what is the corporate objective? With which objective the company proposed to do this particular business? What is its short-term plan? What is its long-term plan? So what we have done, what we have started doing of late is, in our SOP, when we discuss a particular business with our client, what we do is we also discuss at last what is the exit strategy from debt. How you can come out of debt. What is the exit strategy? Are you thinking going public, or do you think that you can get some strategic buyer, or whether you will remain in that traditional space? So what exactly is there? Because ultimately, end of the day, every promoter wants that he should come out of debt in maybe a particular period. And if he's creating a separate learning curve, and if he's raising debt for those learning curves, that is fine. But for this particular activity which you are starting now, what is the exit strategy for this particular debt? So when I say exit strategy, term loan, you can definitely come out because you have a specified window, a door-to-door period, wherein you have to repay all those obligations, and you have to come out with this with those term debts. But what about short-term debts? When I'm saying short-term debts, it can be working capital facilities, it can be some of the non-fund based facilities, or some quasi or some unsecured debts. So those all things, how you can come out with them, and what is the strategy that in next 5 years or 7 years you can come out with these debts on a particular business parameter. So why not to discuss it today? So at least you have, the client has on the back of his mind that yes, I have to think about this also, that how I can come out of the debt. So corporate objective is very important, that what is the short-term corporate objective and what is the long-term corporate objective. So let us first take term loan. So if we are assessing a term loan, what is important? So someone will say that most important is what is the debt equity ratio, or someone else will say that what is the debt service coverage ratio of this particular entity, or someone will come out with a different parameter which says that how much margin the promoter is bringing in, or someone might say, some lender might say that no, I need this much of asset cover ratio, or collateral cover ratio, or fixed asset cover ratio. So there are various things while we assess the term loan. So as to structure a term loan, we have to be very pretty sure on which institution are we approaching, under which scheme are we approaching. So when I'm saying scheme, because we are talking about MSME. So when I talk about MSME, there are a lot of schematic products for MSME which are tailor-made for a particular sector or particular industry. So as a chartered accountant, we should know that which all schemes are available for this particular business, and whether we should go for these schematic products, or we should go for a non-schematic product. What exactly? So we can just prepare a flow chart, and we can be pretty sure on like how much debt promoter wants. Say for example, here we're talking about some hospitality industry. Yeah, so we can take a hospitality industry probably wherein the promoter intends to set up a 4-star or a 5-star hotel with maybe 200 keys or 250 keys, with a convention center, with few restaurants, cafeterias, and some amusement activities in it. So how to assess what kind of term loan can be made available to them? Are there specific institutes which are just made to do financing for tourism activity or hospitality activity? If yes, who are those? What are the rates of interest? Why we should prefer them as against the normal bankers? So these all should come to our mind, and we can prepare or scribble it somewhere that these are the options which might be available to us. So assessing a term loan, first and foremost, is drafting the cost of project. So is the land owned or is the land leased? If the land is owned or leased, how much is the development cost for that particular land? What is the construction cost of building? If I'm saying I'm going ahead with the 250 key property, and as a thumb rule for a 5-star property, I say that 40 lakh rupees per key. For a 4-star is good to go, and maybe 55 lakh rupees per key for a 5-star is good to go. And if I'm going for a luxe brand like Hyatt, that to Grand Hyatt or JW Marriott, then probably my thumb rule will say that I will probably be required to put about 75 lakh rupees or 80 lakh rupees per key. So tentatively, I know that if I'm talking about a 250 key property, so or 200 key property for the sake of understanding. So and if I'm talking about a general 4-star category hotel, so I'm talking about an investment of about 80 crores, excluding the cost of land. So it may range from 70 to 90, or 65 to 90, depending upon what all facilities are you bringing in. But if I'm talking about a specific well-known brand, so my cost per key will be somewhere in the range of 35 to 45 lakh rupees, and we consider it like 40 lakh rupees per key is something which is reasonable. So what is the construction cost of that building? So this is very important because at the time when you draw the debt, draw the term loan, it becomes very difficult at times that probably when you were assessing the project cost and you've taken the construction cost of the building at maybe 2,500 rupees a square feet, for example, and for 250 key, considering that 600 square feet, 600 square feet would be the, so I'm talking about some construction of about 1,25,000 to 1,50,000 square feet for a 200 key property, a 4-star or a early 5-star property. So if I've taken 2,000 rupees or 2,500 rupees per square feet as a construction cost, and how my architect or engineer has given me the details about that particular estimate, that has to be looked into and that has to be punched properly, so that while you submit the disbursement plan or the drawdown plan to the bank, you are very sure about that, how much margin he's going to bring and how much debt we are going to raise for that particular part. So plant and machinery, when we talk about plant and machinery, which are the plant and machinery which would be required, whether we have taken few quotes from prominent players in the industry. If for hospitality industry I'm saying, so majorly what we'll require here is we'll require a furnished kitchen, we'll require air cons, we'll require some solar stuff, we'll require some ETPs or STPs or these kind of stuffs. So whether we have taken all this into consideration while we are assessing the cost of project. What is the preliminary and pre-operative expenses, whether we have taken proper soft launch cost in it or not? Because what happens if you don't assess your cost of project properly, and if you underestimate it, then the promoter is in a very thick soup, because in that case, when he is at the completion end of the project and he's out of his pocket, and then suddenly some surprises comes. So here we can really play a very important role, and what I'm trying to explain here is not just writing a business plan to raise the debt, but also writing a business plan so that your client understands it in detail, because you know that what all other costs may prop up into at a later stage. So these all things like contingencies or IDCs or what is the margin required for working capital, these everything has to be properly understood. Now, for example, we had structured a transaction wherein we had to raise some debt for a 200 key property, and it was a 5-star property, and we had to raise something like 60-65 odd crores for them. So and the problem was that the margin money, the land was owned by the promoter, and the value of the land was maybe 100 crore or something. So while we were discussing with the promoters that, look, this is the minimum margin which would probably you would be required to bring in, and he had shown his there were some issues that probably he would not be able to raise that much of margin so as to complete that project. So now in that case, what all can come to your mind is either, number one, reduce the cost of project, maybe make it in phases. Maybe, first phase you do 150 keys or 100 keys, prepare, complete the common amenities, the lobbies, the convention centers, the kitchens for 200 key property, and do it in phases. One. Number two is you can also do some structuring on the cap table. Say, for example, the land is owned by him and the land is owned in his individual capacity. Now what to do? And now I have to bring in some margin. He is ready to offer that as a security to the bank, which bank is very comfortable with. So why not that company which is bringing up that hotel, why not he takes that particular land on lease? And that lease amount probably may be treated as margin money brought in by the promoter, because that money, we are unlocking the value of the land basically by doing so. So why not to do that? So that is something which is very important, and capital structure is something which we should deep dive for a larger project, because if there are opportunities, if there are possibilities wherein probably at a later stage you are going to bring in some equity or some VCs into it or PPs into it, then you will have to define your cap table or capital structure very, very clearly from the day you start doing that particular business. What you can do is you can also raise some structured products like debentures or quasi equity, or from friends and relatives, and then you have some other lines of long-term debts available as an incentives. There are some central schemes, there are some state schemes. I'll show you how we prepare those scheme document and how we share it with our client. Say, for example, this is MP MSME policy. So this is prepared by us, and this is a very, very short, precise, what is the policy all about, what all benefits they can get, what all subsidies are available, what is the policy about, who are eligible candidates, which all industries are in negative list, which all industries are in positive list, what all kind of subsidies are available, whether capital subsidies are there or there are interest subsidies. So these kind of general document, what you can do is you can ask your interns to prepare it for different sectors or different states, and you can circulate it between your clients on a confidential basis. This can always, you can circulate these kind of documents so you can educate your client on various things. So so this is how probably I'll write my cost of project and means of finance as the first thing to do while I'm writing, or while I'm doing my preparation for writing the business plan. Then, as I said, and probably I've already discussed this, that which all modes and methods are available while we plan our cap table or capital structure. So business plan probably would comprise of 15 or 16 sections. Majorly would be these sections, which talks about what is the background of the company, and what product are you going to manufacture, what is the macro acceptability of that product, micro acceptability of that product, what is the marketing plan, have you compared yourself with the peers in the industry, what are your financial projections, how have you prepared your projections, and what is the executive summary about it, and how you planned it. So when we talk about market size and projected growth in the industry, where from we can collect the data, and are there some curated data available for a particular industry or for a particular sector, or can you retrieve curated data for some of the companies per se while you're writing a business plan? For example, if I'm writing a business plan for a maybe food tech industry, so food technology industry, or health and wellness sector, so how actually I'm gonna understand that what is the market size of this particular sector? There are some data which is available by government, and there are some data which you have to dig out from various sources. So a few of the very prominent sources available, though they are paid sources, a little expensive, but when you're writing a bigger business plan, I would recommend that we should get those data first. What I'll share with you one episode which happened with me way back in like 2015 or 16, when we were working for a company which is into manufacturing of steel pipe, so saw pipe manufacturing they were into. So while one of the bankers was syndicating this particular debt, he was appraising it. He came out with the area wherein they have said that this proposal is declined because this industry is in a negative growth territory, and they have said that this data they have retrieved from CMIE. So since we were subscribers of CMIE, so when we saw this, and we have already mentioned it in our business plan, that CMIE is showing a positive trajectory for this particular industry, and how you can say that this is a negative trajectory. And then what we've done is we've asked our team to prepare 20-25 companies who are into this particular sector, prepare a proper spreadsheet how they've grown in last 3 years, and then also dig out the complete CMI report about that particular industry. And there was a confusion from the appraising team. What they've done is, for example, this particular industry was growing by 20% till 2014, and that particular industry has grown by maybe 12% in 2015. So what they've said is that this has a negative growth of in place of 16%, that has grown by 12%, so 40% is negative growth. So when you dig out these data, you are very much you have to understand about it, and there are a number of other platforms from where you can take these data. One I've told already, CMIE. Then there are some very paid resources available, that is maybe Traction or Pitch, or these kind of platforms where from you can also, means anytime you can always if it's a listed entity, then you can take it from the BSE or NSE or SEBI, or these places. And if it's not a listed entity, then probably you may take some of the data from MCAs. But how exactly you'll know that who are the competitors for this particular sector? So when I was telling that we were working for a health and wellness company, and we were not knowing that who are the peer competitors for this particular segment, then we have to dig out those data. So while we do the growth trajectory of that particular business, so we have to get into the peer competitors, geographical distribution, from consumption point of view, from manufacturing point of view, what is the success rate so far or hit rate so far in domestic industry as well as globally, if there are cases available for you to study, whether the unit is export oriented, how much percentage share of the revenue will go towards export. Are we going to be a OEM for one of the larger companies? For example, are we a OEM for Tatas or Hondas or Hyundais or Eicher, or what basically the business model is all about and how that particular sector will grow. So for example, if I'm setting up a auto ancillary unit for Eicher, and which I've done for one of our clients in 2017, 18, and then this particular segment has taken a negative turn. So we have to do a lot of so a lot of problems while in that period. So you should understand like what is the curve, where it is going, so what is the pattern of the business, everything. You get all these numbers, you get all these sizes, market size, etc., and you can probably, as a chartered accountant, you can work upon these numbers. So these are approvals, what all approvals are required, if any kind of approvals are required, where fire NOC is taken or not, whether pollution is taken or not, consent to establish is taken or not, if you are in a municipal limit, if it's an MSME, whether you have gone for a Udyam registration. DIC is basically Udyam. You have GST, you have manufacturing licenses available. Different states have different licenses. So in short, you have to have a complete list of statutory approvals or registrations, what might be required to set up a particular industry. Say for example, if you're working for a pharma industry, whether it's whether you're doing it for a domestic consumption, or if you're talking about exporting those products to different geographies. So if you're talking for exporting to US geography, then whether you are talking about US FDA compliant plant, or if you're talking about European geography, then it has to be a UK MHRA plant, or it's a Schedule M plant, or it's a WHO GMP plant. So all those things, and if it's a food, then what all licenses, whether FSI has been taken or not. So different industry require different licenses. So you have to prepare a complete checklist of all those approvals, licenses which are required, and check whether everything is in order or not. So these are some general slides. I would skip these slides. So what is the present status of the project? So present status of the, what is the present status of the project? So whether the land is procured, if it has been procured, whether proper approvals have been taken or not, what is the size of the land, whether that fits for the project which you're talking about. Say when we're discussing about a chip line or a snacking line, snack food line, and if I'm talking about setting up a 2000 kg per hour plant, so what is the line size of the line? If that require a 200-meter or 300-meter or 400-meter direct single stretch, whether my land permits me to do that a kind of a thing or not. So that these all things we can do a prim check while we're writing, while we're initially planning about setting up of that project, so that there are no surprise elements at the later stage. So plant and machineries. So whether when I'm talking about plant and machinery, for example, say for example, we're talking about a snacking industry, right? So as an angel investor, I'm invested in a company wherein we manufacture equipments for food processing companies. So largely this particular industry has been driven by 3 or 4 major players in the world. Indian industries have never been on a on the front foot in this particular space. So for example, if I'm talking about a chip line wherein I'm going to produce potato chips by installing a chip line, or I'm going to do a bhujia by installing a namkeen frying line, or I'm doing some kurkure or extruded snacks by setting up a particular line. So which machineries are good for me? So what is the complete line which all bought out equipments are required, whether I am giving it as a turnkey project, whether I am giving it on a different slots to different people. So for example, if I have not given it on a turnkey, then probably I'll need a slicer from some other company, I'll need a washer from some other company, and probably the line would be given to me by someone, but the furnace would come from some other company. So who would do the balancing of all these equipments? And so while I'm deciding the plant and machinery as a chartered accountant, while I'm raising debt for that particular company, is very important that I should understand that this particular plant, if I'm taking from Buller or Satake or Heat and Control, or if I'm taking it from some of an Italian manufacturer, or if I'm going for a Chinese manufacturer, whether I have options available in Indian space. If I have those options available, had I vetted those options or not? If I had vetted those options, why I'm not considering these options as against these options? So what I can do is I can prepare a spreadsheet for my client. I can bill it to my client that this is the exercise which we have done for you, and this is how you can probably save this much of money in next 5 years or 10 years of your project. So deciding plant and machinery is very important. Probably you will have to handhold, or you'll have to sit a few times with the technical consultant for the client had hired for this particular project, and to understand with them and to deep dive on various numbers with him so as to decide the plant and machinery. So plant and machinery is very important, and if what has been the reviews about those plant, and whether the client had visited these plants which are already installed at other locations or not, is also important, and we have to take care of it that our client does it. So what I'm trying to say here again, and why I'm emphasizing it again here, is we are not just agents or brokers which are raising debt for our client. No, we are not that. We are someone who gives a lot of value added things to our client, explaining it to them that, look, here you are wrong or here you are right, and you can do something like this. Why are you not considering this option? So these are, every such point will come time and again while you write the business plan. So so this is about plant and machinery, and we can take, of course, we can take DNB reports, and we can take market reports about the supplier, about the vendor. This we can always do. So again, coming back to point one, which was identifying location. So probably we have understood it at length, but yes, one thing we had missed is power. Power is important, and while we are deciding to set up our industry, it is very, very important that we understand that uninterrupted power is available to us, to the industry, and what is the rate of power. So few of the industries wherein the major raw material is power, does it make sense to set it up in a geography where the cost of power is maybe 9 rupees a unit, 9 rupees a watt or kilowatt, or maybe 10 rupees a kilowatt? Or does it make sense to shift it to some place where probably you may get it for 4 rupees a kilowatt or 5 rupees a kilowatt? Whether you have an option to get into a PPA and reverse billing mechanism by setting up renewable, or by even if not setting up, by handshaking with someone who has already set up solar or some other renewable. So this is important, and this has to be looked upon while we are deciding the location of that project. So government incentives and policies. So while I say government incentives and policies, uh, like I've shown you a document what we prepare for our clients for government policies, state government policies. Now, for example, if I'm talking about central government policies, and there are a lot of PLIs which are already there for IT, for food processing, for pharma, not for IT, it is mainly for hardware, right? So hardware, food processing and pharma, that is already there, and few more in pipeline are chemical. Steel has already come. Steel has already come. So like for example, I would show you what we do while any such policy is unveiled. What we do is, like, this is for food processing. This is for internal circulation only, and what all may happen. Production linked incentive scheme for food processing industry. This scheme had come on 5th of May 2021. What is the scheme all about? So what we've done is we have converted it into a FAQ kind of a thing, because usually your client doesn't understand, or uh, he doesn't have that much of time wherein he can read the complete policy. And when you prepare these kind of things, you can directly, reply to some of the specific queries for them. So this is a complete deep dive into that policy, which all industries will get what, which are the eligibility criterias, what if I'm a larger client, what if I'm a smaller client, what if I'm an MSME, which all products or which all categories are captured, where I can get PLIs, what is the percentage of PLI available for packaged food, what is available for ready meals, what is available, for snacking, what is available for fruit, what is available. So complete detail about marine meat, mozzarella. So everything about it, we capture it in our FNQs, and we share it with our client with a disclaimer that this is our understanding about it, and we don't. This is a document. It is our interpretation, and with no liability, we are sharing it with you and as an internal circulation. So. So this is something probably which we as a advisors or chartered accountants can do for our clients. And like tourism sector key, if we discuss about tourism sector, there are a lot of tourism opportunities available. So not just hospitality, but if we talk about water sports, if you talk about mm, uh, desert safaris, if you talk about wildlife tourism. So a lot of tourism sector is, as I was speaking with the madam earlier, that we are working for one of the client in Chennai who is an artist and who's setting up museums across the globe. So there are a lot of opportunities in tourism sector, and you need to identify that what state offers what is the kind of footfalls or at a particular location, and what is missing there. Why not to sync with some of the tourism experts who can guide you on various opportunities which are available at a particular location. So tourism is a good sector, is a very interesting sector, though not exciting now because of COVID, but still in COVID, if you see, business hotels have performed very poor, but all the Lux hotel have performed excellently well, as in when the this lockdowns have opened. So I have seen like many of the Lux destinations like Goa or Udaipur or Srinagar, these kind of locations have done excellently well uh, in tourism. So business hotels, though they have not performed well because there are some issues because of pandemic, but so tourism is a sector where probably you can handshake with, or you can sync with some of the tourism experts. You can talk to a Knight and Frank, or you can talk to JLLs of the world, and they may probably give you some of the opportunities which are available to work upon as a consultant, as an advisor for some of your clients in those areas. So I think these are very general slides. I would probably skip these slides, and power, I think I've already discussed with you. So let me come to this slide again, raw material. One good opportunity which is available. Look, I am not going to explain you how raw material is, and I'm trying to tell you that what is the opportunity available for us while we are preparing the business plan for an MSME to raise debt, and while we are talking about procuring raw material, what may be the probable opportunities for us as a chartered accountant while we are working for a client. So one is definitely that has to go. When you are writing a business plan, you're also having in mind that what ERP the client is gonna install. So because you had already, taken it to the cost of project, that what kind of software spend is there or ERP spend is there, and what you've captured while writing your cost of project. So you are aware about that, what ERPs they are taking. Now, while we are talking about raw material procurement, why not to deep dive into it and to understand that what is the lead period for procuring this raw material? What is the usance period for procuring this raw material? How much minimum quantity is required for this particular raw material? If you have multiple finished goods, for example, when I was talking about saw pipe, say for example, I have various gauges and then various size of pipes. So how many pipes do I need to hold while I'm keeping my finished goods inventory there? So while I am deciding about ERP, who will implement that ERP? They need a technical support, they need financial support from the chartered accountant while we implement the ERP. So you have to define them that these are the broader parameters based on which you have to implement. Now again, ERP implementation is a professional assignment. You can bill yourself for getting this ERP implemented. So number two, what is important is you can also bring benefit to your client by engaging them with some of the companies like I have earlier quoted, Zetwork. So what they do is they are aggregators, or I would rather call them hyper locals. So they are hyper locals. So what they do is, for example, your major raw material is steel, and probably you are using, maybe being an MSME, you're using maybe 200 ton or 300 ton of steel per month. But there are larger aggregators who procure 5,000 ton or 10,000 ton of steel on a month-on-month basis. So we know that more the quantity, better would be the price, right? Second, better the payment terms, better would be the price. If you're buying it in advance, better would be the price. So why not to work upon with our client to improve on his raw material procurement capabilities, and simultaneously what we can do is we can also improve on our bottom line while we are writing the business plan, because this all will become very crucial. If you're talking about any volume based industry wherein the top line, the bottom line is maybe 3% or 2% or 4%, and usually when you do any kind of a traditional business or any kind of bulk manufacturing business, then usually the bottom line remains between maybe 3 to 5%. So if you are able to save 1%, because technically when you're talking about any traditional industry and when you see the the expenditure head of the balance sheet of the P&L, you maybe 40% to 70% would be the raw material cost. And if that 40 to 70%, if you can reduce on cost or reduce on financial expense on that particular raw material by maybe X percentile, maybe 1% or 2%, so that is gonna impact your profitability by 30-35%. So, for example, if my profitability earlier, while I was assessing, my client was assessing at a particular, considering various parameters, it was coming 4%. And by somehow I manage that raw material, I can reduce my raw material cost by 1%. So technically what I've done is, if I reduce the cost of raw material by 1%, presuming 50% or 2%, and presuming the raw material was 50% component on my expenditure side, so technically what I've done is I've increased my bottom line by 1%. Correct? So if I've increased my bottom line by 1%, earlier bottom line was 4%, so technically I've increased my bottom line by 25%, which is something which is huge. And there is an opportunity what chartered accountant can do, which probably at times the client doesn't, we don't recognize that here also we can work. And we work on these kind of things where similar, I've told you about power also, that why not to get into a PPA with and why not to sync with some of these kind of renewable sources, and why not to get this reverse billing mechanism available to our client. And these all things are available. Labor. So when I'm talking about labor, you have 4 or 5 maybe types of labor. So skilled labor, unskilled labor, semi-skilled labor, and then you have admin staff, and then you have management. So while we are implementing the ERP for our client, for an MSME, right? Maybe considering that MSME is a small industry with a small ERP solution, with maybe less than 100 people on roll, maybe 4 or 5 teams, maybe. So what we can do here is we can standardize and we can write some standard plans for labor. So transportation, very important in the present scenario, when the shipping costs have gone maybe 1000% up in last maybe 1 year, 1.5 years. So earlier the container which I used to get for probably $600, now I'm getting for $6,000. So 10x. So transportation is very important, and what is the connectivity of to suppliers, whether I can have a railhead available, how do I use the mode of transport. So this is something which is important and which has to become part of your business plan. So this is a general slide. I'll skip this. Now, though we have understood this all a lot earlier, so but when we are saying that business model, what is the business model? So when we say business model, like what is the product mix? And we are talking here about maybe a FMCG, wherein you're dealing on a B2C thing, and you have probably, let us presume we are selling a 10 rupee chips packet or 10 rupee kurkure packet into the market, or along with that you have a whole maybe 20-25 SKUs available or 30 SKUs available. So what is the business model available? What is the business model here? We need to sketch what is the distributor network available. Am I online? Am I offline player? What is the credit period available? Do I give some incentives to my premium customers? What are the gross margins? How much am I burning to develop a new geography? What is my discount policy? What is the product returning policy? This all should become part of while I'm deciding my business model. What is the go-to-market, GTM? This is something which is very important. What is the go-to-market strategy? So whether we are, and this go-to-market strategy, we're talking about, for example, a B2C market, not a B2B or not a B2B market. If I'm talking about a B2C market, then how am I going to hit my product on the floor? Whether I'm going to use influencers, whether I'm going to use some shelf spaces, whether how precisely I'm going to use what would be my go-to-market strategy? Whether I'll use a lot of advertisements, or I'll do a full page ads on national dailies, or I'll use some digital media, or I'll use what is my go-to-market strategy? So for that, we need to do a very deep dive, and there are marketing strategists with whom probably we can sit and analyze that what could be the outcome, not what would, but what could be the outcome of different go-to-market strategies, and we can definitely share those numbers with our client, and he can, based upon the numbers what we have churned while discussing with market strategists, he probably can take some of the decisions on go-to-market strategy. Market analysis, again, very important. What is the price structure? How competitive are you? For example, if you're bringing a 10 rupee chips packet with the brand, maybe there is Haldiram, you come up with a brand called Ram Ram. So, there is any other brand, any brand name you can take. So, for example, I am venturing into this particular space, and this is a price sensitive market, for example. So this particular market is into two categories. If I have to buy chips, I would probably buy only Lay's, but most of the market will buy Balaji, or maybe Bikaji, or maybe Haldiram, or maybe some other local players which have some geographical, very regional presences. So so I have to understand first what is my shelf space, whether I am competing with Lay's or I'm competing with the regional brands, where exactly I am located, where exactly my shelf space is. So what is the price structure? Say for example, in a 10 rupee chips packet, Lay's give you 16 gram of chips, wherein the similar other national brand like Balaji or Haldiram or Parle, they give you about 23 to 24 grams of chips, and maybe some other local regional brands would give you 27 or 28 grams of chips. Now where exactly are you there? So you need to be very firm while you are writing your business plan, that which market segment are you targeting. You should not talk about, you should be very clear about which market segment are you targeting. What is the flexibility of demand in that particular market? How much capacity do you have, and what kind of capacity are you targeting to hit the market? Capacity utilization are you targeting to hit the market? So what would be the client behavior? What may be the inclination or need to buy your product from the market vis-a-vis other products? What is your supply network? What are your marketing channels? So are you going digital? Are you an online brand, or are you an offline brand? So these all things will be very important while you are analyzing the market, while you are writing the business plan. So peer comparison, maybe you can do a peer comparison with few of the peers in the industry as to how this project is sustainable. This is very important. Why? Because while you do the peer analysis, then you get to know that probably your client or the technical person he has hired, he is telling you that the EBITDA in this particular industry would be maybe 18%. But when you compare it with your peers, the EBITDA for all the peers comes in the range of 8 to 12%. What is right? Whether when you're talking about the peers, I have one slide after this. So probably I'll show you that slide and then we'll discuss. Yeah. So probably for a nutraceutical company, we were working for one of our clients who's setting up a greenfield project for nutraceutical plant. And while we were discussing with their technical experts, they briefed us, and they had given us all the numbers along with the lot of details, whatever we had asked. And we arrived at that the EBITDA level would be somewhere around 18%. But while we were analyzing the peer, while we were doing the peer analysis, so we got to know that the peer analysis, the EBITDA, this is just the selling expenses slide. The EBITDA was 8 to 10%. And this is a further analysis actually, what my team had probably put in it is why, because the selling expenses, what we had taken and what peers, the administrative expenses, what we had taken and what the peers had taken, there was a huge difference in that amount. And then once we deep dived into it, then we found that yes, probably what we have taken, what the technical consultant had given us the numbers, probably they are very much on a very conservative side, very optimal side numbers, and we should not take these numbers, and this probably may jeopardize the future, economics about this particular company. So then we again deep dived into it once we did the peer analysis, and then we deep dived into it, and we have understood that the administrative expenses what we are taking is something which is not in line with the major peers which are available in this particular segment. So SWOT, I don't need to explain. You have to write strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Working capital assessment, I will not get into the detail how to assess the working capital, but rather I would like to tell you that how to minimize the working capital requirement for a client. How to work that so that we can work upon the minimal levels of working capital. That's the reason why I have taken you to the slide when we were talking about raw material or labor. We are talking about standardizing of it, and we are talking about fixing up the lead periods and usance periods, and also when syncing the floor with the procurement team, that how this can be synced, and by that probably you can minimize the working capital requirement to the large level. But yes, what is not in your control is holding periods for, or the booked periods. Whatever policy you have, if the what you can do is you can get your bills discounted on a recourse or on non-recourse basis, so that your working capital cycle goes seamless. But if those book dates are not eligible for getting discount, then what to do? For example, if you're working with some government department working, what I have seen is the most trickiest business, because you don't know when you're going to get the funds. A lot of companies struggle, a lot of companies get into very difficult financial scenarios because of late, delayed, or red tapeism in the government departments. So while you are writing a business plan for a company which probably is gonna supply to the government, you have to be extra precautious on the data cycle, writing their contract very thoroughly, and understanding what kind of data cycle, maximum data cycle, and keep a spread further. Because if you're talking about 10 crore a month top line, and if for example you are just 1 month data are delayed, then your working capital requirement will go up by 10 crores, and for an MSME to bring in 10 crores at times will become very difficult. So what I would suggest here is, while you are assessing the working capital, you can always understand the nitty-gritties about how to optimize the working capital requirement. And also, if you're dealing with such kind of people, such kind of client, such kind of vendor, wherein the data cycle may not get discounted, then in that case you have to be extra precautious and keep a spread while you are assessing your working capital. So the margins available and all, everyone knows this, so I don't need to explain this. So these are some of the numbers which probably you have to attach with your business plan while you are submitting it to the lender. There are some jargons which are very much used in the industry now, and I would like to discuss few of them with you so that we can understand it. Like for example, this revenue multiple and EBITDA multiple, we all know. Now, what is important is future revenue multiple, future EBITDA multiple, right? For example, you're working for a client wherein you have sold X percentage of your equity this fiscal, and the balance of the equity has to be sold in next few fiscals, based upon various milestones, based upon various multiples, and the valuation of those numbers would be decided upon achievement of particular milestones in few next years. Now, while you are preparing a shareholder agreement for your client, I'm just talking about what opportunities can there be for a chartered accountant. I know we all know what all these are. I'm just trying to explain what I have seen in last 22 years of my career. I'm just trying to share those experiences with you. So when I'm saying EBITDA multiple, so for example, now you have sold 51 or 61 or 70% stake in your company, and you're holding 30% with a minority kind of stake in the company now, and the promoters, key managerial personals have changed, everything has changed. Now, for example, you were spending about 5% on your marketing, and you have been given 3 different milestones that you will get an exit 100%. You have to exit in next 3 years, and in the shareholder agreement, what they mentioned is you will get an EBITDA multiple of X in the next fiscal, of Y in the further next year, and Z in the further next year. Perfect. So that, as far as that goes, it is okay. Now, how to calculate EBITDA? Who will write the business plan? Who will confirm the business plan? Who will validate the business plan? If I am spending more than, I was spending 5% on marketing spend, and now since the acquiree company who has acquired this particular company has to see a long-term objective, what he's seeing is to multiply his top line number on a year-on-year basis. And if he has to do it on a year-on-year basis, what he has to do is he has to spend a lot on marketing spend. Why not to put a number, put a condition in the SHA now that look, 5%, any marketing spend done over and above 5% or over and above 6%, giving a spread of 1% for a particular milestone achievement, or 2% above that, that would not be considered while you calculate EBITDA for my next round of dilutions. So these are some things which probably we may think about, we may think loudly about, like how to do this. So there are a lot of such kind of very tricky situations which usually arise while we are working with our client, and he has come to you with a hope that you will guide you to the last mile, considering all the dominoes effect, that if not this, then what will happen, if not that, then what will happen. So you have to completely cycle it to the last dominoes effect, that till the time he is out of it. So for example, the similar company which we were targeting, which we're talking about, was he has given a revenue multiple. It has given a revenue multiple. Now, what if it's an online sales company, and online sales, what they've done is they've created a in-between company wherein they buy the product on a net value. So that means, for example, today I am billing 100 rupee. Of that 100 rupee, 25 rupee is towards my transport cost. Say I'm an Amazon dealer. I'm a producer, and I sell all my products on Amazon platform. What will happen? My top line will squeeze by 25% immediately. If the acquiring company creates one company in between, a layer in between, what it does is it is not impacting my EBITDA. What they're saying is that whatever you are doing on a net thing, we are billing, but my revenue multiple will impact from this. So why not to take a GMV? Let us not talk about revenue multiple. Let us talk about a GMV. Let us talk about ARPU. Right, let us talk about ARR. So these are some of the jargons which are, what is my churn rate, what is my burn rate. So these are some of the things which we need to discuss while we are talking about. Now, few of the case studies, and I think now I'll have to close to take some of the questions in next 2-3 minutes. Some of the case studies, like 1.5 crore users in less than 5 years. And when when I was talking to you about IPL, and when I was talking to you about Grow, right? So now you can uh, again think about that. How many Grow advertisement had you seen? How much was the screen time that the Grow had taken? Who are the investors? What is the cap table? So if I talk about Grow, what Grow does? What Grow does is it enables us to invest in stock or mutual fund or ETFs or IPOs, even gold, paperless and hassle-free manner. That is something which Grow does. Now, who are the founders? So, ex-Flipkart, 4 people got out of Flipkart, started this Grow. They knew how to raise, how to become a tech company. All IITians. Harsh was an IIT Delhi guy. Neeraj was ex-Flipkart. Ishan was there. He's an XLRI. So good pedigrees, and then they started Grow, and then it is agreed to buy India Bull's asset management and trustee company for 175 crores from India Bull Housing Finance Company. So as to do that, what they've done is Tiger had bagged them, and other Lightbridge probably had bagged them while they were acquiring this company. So as of now, they are managing 32 trillion, almost like 32 trillion INR is managed by Grow. So what a story means, 5 years, 1.5 crore users, no physical presence or very minimal physical presence, just digital presence, raised that many money in that less time, grown to this level. So these are some studies which probably, we as a chartered accountant should think, deep dive, what has been the cap table, what had happened to those who had invested into this company in the seed round in 2018. So just 3 years, huh? 18 was a seed round, Series A was 19, Series B was 19, Series C was 20, and Series D was 21. And you see all the heavyweight VCs and Ps are there. They've invested in this company. So the company which I was talking about was Zetwork. What it does, very simple business model. What it does, supplier OEM between becomes Zetwork. Why? Because he's an aggregator, hyper local. You want something at Chennai, he's there at Chennai as a hyper local. You don't need to go to Muthoot steel vendor or someone, but what they can do is they are hyper local and they can procure everything for you. Again, the story, they are now, it's a earlier valuation. Last week they've turned unicorn. So earlier Fab 21, they'd been valued at 659 million, but last week they've got a funds at 1.6 or 1.2, 1.2 probably, 1.2 billion. Cred again. So what it does, what a simple pain point it had addressed, and it has become a unicorn. What is the pain point? The pain point is, if I have to pay my credit card bill, what I'll do is I become an intermediary. I'll pay all your credit. You have to pay all your credit card bills through me. And then I have a complete big data on what you are paying, how you are paying, what is your cycle, what is your, so, again, the fastest turning unicorn in this. So these are some of the, this is again a very important, very good study, which probably, this is a furniture renting company, Furlanco. Home decor targeted to youth who change their accounts every now and then, don't need to be fixed with a specific, furniture home decor. So in less than maybe 2.5 years, they have raised about close to 100 million, and the valuation is pretty much now. So this is all from me. I think I am open to some of the questions if there are any.
Sir, we have some questions compiled, so we'll take it up. So I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Definitely a very, very informative session. And can I read the questions for you, sir? Yeah, there are. While there are many schemes given by the government, are these schemes really reachable and beneficial to the MSMEs? Is it really practical? Because in the paper, they talk so many things. I mean, in scheme document talks many things. And when we go to the bank manager, literally, probably it's lack of awareness or kind of shield from the bank management. The response what we receive there is a kind of little different that way. So be it Stand Up India or any other schemes which you talk about, the first generation entrepreneurs, bank managers, despite the targets they have, they prefer to give it to the existing borrowers, maybe their wife or things like that, so that their target is achieved and they are also safe. So what is your take on that?
So when I say like for very, very small schemes like PMR, Pradhan Mantri, some, yojnas or mudra schemes or, Stand Up India or Startup India, though what I've seen in last few years is a lot of digitization had happened for this also. And you can apply for these schemes online. You don't need to go to the bank, right? So first and foremost is the first screening would be done online, and then they would probably recommend you that this is the bank you have to approach to, and then also issue you that 59minute.com or something would probably issue you a in principle kind of a sanction letter, and then you have to approach to a bank which is there in that particular in principle kind of a sanction. And but yes, what I see is these schemes are reachable, but we as a chartered accountant, what we have to do is we have to be very much aware about this scheme. We have to be very much clear about what we are taking to the banker. We should be very clear about are we actually giving benefit to the one who genuinely require that benefit. So these are our responsibilities as a chartered accountant, and if we go with all those, if we take that ownership and if we go to the bank, I don't see a reason that he can say no to you. Or else you have many other alternates available. You can escalate the matter to the higher ups, you can escalate the matter to the government departments, and I see that this is happening. I have seen this happening a lot.
Absolutely. So the skill is with us. So we have to understand the schemes and put it the right way that they are acceptable. Very nice. Sir. And the next question is, how do we compensate for our manners? Like we prepare all the projects and finally it gets rejected, and the client is happy only when he gets the money. So how do we charge the client when he doesn't get the loan?
So usually in advisory, in like debt syndication, what is prevalent, though our institute does not allow to do it, but what is prevalent is charging a success fee, right? So that's what we call it, a success fee. But what we can do is, while we write a mandate, we can always incorporate that these are the manners which we do, and these are the manners that we are going to spend to write the business plan, because we are not just writing the business plan, as I've told time and again, just for bank financing. We are writing the business plan for you first, and then for the bank. So when you deep dive with your client to that level, he will have no option but to stick with you with a fevicol, like a fevicol, and he will never leave you, because you have deep dived so much into his business that he would probably feel that you are an asset to him. So first, what you can do is you can draft your mandate in such a way that at least the basic fee, how much time you spend on it, that comes to you as an advance, and then probably you can have, in place of one success fee kind of a thing. You can have multiple stages of payment. Yes.
Perfect, sir. So the next question is very, very specific to CGT MSE. They have availed a loan there, and due to COVID, there was some issues. Now they want to avail one more term loan under CGT MSE. Are there any restrictions?
There's no restriction. What kind of restriction? There are no restriction. As long as that client is doing good, as long as that CGT MSE up to 2 crore probably it is. I don't do much of a smaller loan, so I don't know. But I think it is up to 2 crore. So if it is within that limit, then definitely you can again approach to the bank. And now with CGT MSE, there's one more thing which has come, which we are taking help for some of our startups which we are mentoring. So that's the reason I know a little about it. Because diluting too much at an early stage is difficult. What we are doing is we are probably making it a hybrid kind of a situation wherein we are diluting a little and taking a little as a debt. So that brings more of a skin of the promoters or founders into the company, and he's more.
They have a whole.
Yeah, they have more corporate governance into the system. So what we can do is, just if you're going just with the CGTMS, there's one more scheme called hybrid, wherein you can take CGTMS and also you can give comfort to your banker by giving some security. So that also is option available.
Awesome.
Earlier was not there.
All right, so I think that's all from the question bank. And it was definitely a very, very wonderful session, a completely different perspective on how we should work out. I mean, of course, on one end, we are really struggling with the technical glitches of the website, the extension of due dates, waiting for extension of due dates, preparing documentation and all that. Having said so, it is also important that we create some value to the society, to our clients. And as sir rightly put, in terms of bank project, we must accept that we are preparing bank projects for banks and not for the client. I think that is a paradigm shift which we have to bring into our profession. We should prepare projects for the client so that it is realistic. And he also has track, he or she has track on how the business is performing and what funds would be required, and how the progress can take. So we had a lot of key takeaways from your sessions, a very, very informative session, and a big thank you from SIRC and from all the beneficial audience today to you for this wonderful session. So thank you so much, and thank you audience for the wonderful participation. Thank you.
It was being with you. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you.